Hi everyone, I'm Karen Finch and I'm the CEO of Legally Yours. To celebrate the 5-year anniversary of the Melbourne Women's Fund, I am incredibly honoured to be filming a series of 5 videos interviewing the amazing women involved with the Melbourne Women's Fund. So in today's interview, I am joined by the absolutely brilliant Cooney, who is the chair of HerSpace and winner of the Melbourne Women's Fund grant in 2018. Catherine, welcome and thank you so much for joining me.
Hi Karen, very, very pleased to be here.
Fantastic. So let's get into it. What actually does HerSpace do? What do you actually focus on?
We provide trauma-informed wellbeing and mental health counselling services to women and girls who have experienced sexual or other forms of exploitation in Australia, for example, human trafficking, forced labour and forced marriage.
Wow, that is, I mean, it's big, isn't it? And it's a really tough topic, which is amazing. So when you were coming together and forming HerSpace, why did you feel that applying for Melbourne Women's Fund grant was really going to help that amazing cause that you were really focused on?
Well, that's a really good question. And in our presentation to the members on the presentation night, I spoke about the stigma of this work and that there's a contradiction that exists in this. And the women who access our service are stigmatised, and the work that we do is also stigmatised. And in a room full of funders, and I've spoken at many and various types of events, it makes people uncomfortable, especially men in the corporate world. Even those who are very woke, and even if they're not engaged in the harm themselves, they're acutely aware that some business practices take place that are within the scope of our work. And it's awkward to talk about, but this attitude does exist, and it's caused by an unconscious bias that women are choosing a path, and that if this is their choice, then what does it have to do with us? And we know that it's much more complex than this. And it's really because of this attitude, and that's been a feature of our previous fundraising attempts. We really wanted to come to an organisation that was set up for women, run by women, and present our case for support of other women.
Just phenomenal. I actually got tingles when you were talking, because absolutely it is a really uncomfortable topic. And, you know, it's so amazing that it's women that are championing this cause as well, and a women's fund that saw, you know, the absolute need to do something about it. So I can absolutely see how it was a perfect kind of marrying together of, you know, philanthropic with a cause that only really women could champion and take on, with, you know, the power and empowerment that you've got there, which is just incredible. So what was the actual experience then going through that process with Melbourne Women's Fund? Talk me through a little bit about that.
It was beautifully supportive. So we were lucky enough to be in the round that had a little video promo made of the service, and some of our counsellors were interviewed, and I spoke, and our former CEO spoke as well. But we were so held. It was just like, and we had access to all these wonderful, wonderful, experienced, wise women who coached us basically, and asked us the right questions so we could give the right answers. The filming process was a little bit chaotic, as these things are when you're green, but again, just so professional. Jules, who was the main contact for us at that time, just outstanding.
I just love it. And, you know, I've done a lot with the startup community, and I've been involved in a lot of, you know, that process of gaining funds and going through angel investment and seed rounding and all those sorts of things. I have never heard anyone talk about it like that. And how incredible that you felt, you know, that it was a wonderful experience, which, you know, I've never actually heard a startup founder actually say that, but B, how supported and how surrounded you felt, that it was actually a really loving, valuable, just incredible. Absolutely love it. So having received the grant in 2018, how has that affected HerSpace? What's that enabled you to do?
Well, I think that this sort of might bring the tone down a bit for some people, but honestly, at that point for us, it came at a really crucial time, and the flow-on advantages have been really significant. So we were down to our last 40,000 when we landed the Melbourne Women's Fund signature grant. And we'd had steady but small grants in the preceding 12 months, like 6,000 here, 10,000 there. And our service was rapidly expanding because once we'd got out there with the model, we were getting lots of referrals. And our model is that we pay 100% for the counselling services.
Okay.
So with the grant,
yes,
we were able to expand and we were able to invest in good governance, which when I first came into the chair role, I saw that there was definitely an opportunity for our governance to be improved.
Yep.
We produced an annual report that year that was funded by the MFW. We were able to afford a full audit. We invested in a clinical practice manager who just went right through the programs to make sure that they were evidence informed and clinically appropriate for the cohort that we were working with, which is not a small task, and it's an expensive task. We set some sustainability goals in terms of how we were going to invest some of the money to ensure we had a great website, which is an ongoing project, as no doubt you and comms and know all about.
Yeah.
And we invested in a monitoring and evaluation role, which is ongoing and also informs our continuous improvement framework, which we also set up with that money. So it just gave us a future, and knowing that we had a future, it enabled us to make decisions that were going to just embed good governance and sustainability.
I love it. So what I'm actually hearing was that without this grant, you could have actually, it could have been pretty touch and go whether HerSpace still continued on, particularly given where you were when you went through it. But not only that, it gave you the opportunity to actually build for the future in a quite, scale in a really valuable, meaningful way, because those things that you talk about with governance and the website and the platforms, as an NFP, they tend to be the things that are sort of the nice to have, but you're just in the trenches trying to get the work done. So that is absolutely incredible, and it sounds like it's just had the most amazing impact. So my final question, how are you faring? How is HerSpace faring during this crazy year of COVID? And, is there any support, obviously, that we can kind of shout out to people out there that are watching this video?
Look, the period of isolation has been a substantial challenge to the mental health of some of the women that we work with.
Yes.
Others have really kind of appreciated being able to connect in a more private space and not have to travel to a service and walk through a room and walk through a door and have that personal contact. It just depends on where they are in their recovery journey and what their own preferences are. Okay. But we haven't had negative feedback for everybody from all the clients. We've actually had some clients now choosing to continue in this new format. It's been hard on the staff because we haven't had that say, and the team, because we just, what that's like. We just haven't had that level of connection like everybody has, and we like to bounce ideas off each other and connect with each other and help each other to cope with all the things that we have to cope with. But I think one of the things that's been a bit of a shame for us is that we did have to let go of our shared space. So we were in a wonderful community hub that was a shared space, and we could book counselling rooms and that sort of thing. But at $800 a month, we weren't able to keep it going. So we are now, when we're more confident of the future, we'll be looking for our own dedicated space that's discreet, and we're looking. I guess that's the thing that is our most urgent need as we return to normal.
Well, I'm so pleased that you've still been able to function and support and do the absolutely incredible work that HerSpace does. And, it's just so thank you so much for sharing that story with the impact that the Melbourne Women's Fund's had. So if you're watching this and you would like to find out more about how you can become a supporter or partner of the Melbourne Women's Fund, or if you're a not-for-profit who would like to find out about how you can become an MWF grants winner, head to the melbournewomen'sfund.org. And if you would like to find out more about HerSpace and the incredible work that Catherine and her team are doing, please head to herspace.org.au. Well, I'm Karen Finch from Legally Yours. Thank you so much, Catherine, for joining me, and thank you all for watching.
Thanks, Karen. It was an absolute pleasure.